With fraud and scamming on the rise, criminal gangs are always on the lookout for people willing to lend them their bank accounts to receive and withdraw that unlawful cash. The people whose bank accounts are being used by these fraudsters are called money mules.
We are going to talk about how Citibank used to be money launderers' favorite bank, according to US law enforcement officials. So, drug traffickers used to launder money through Citigroup because they believed the bank was more favorable with less robust fraud controls, according to US senior law enforcement officials. In an indictment on seal last week, US prosecutors detailed how two California residents who allegedly worked with a notorious Sinaloa cartel deposited tens of thousands of dollars at Citi ATMs. On at least 3 separate occasions in January 2021, they also allegedly fed a total of almost $36,000 in illicit cash into the machines. A few $100s at a time, waiting just a minute or two between each transaction. By splitting the sum into dozens of smaller deposits, prosecutors claim they stayed below the 10,000 threshold, at which banks are required to report cash transactions to the US Treasury. Drug Enforcement Administration officials told the Financial Times that the duo, alleged to be part of a vast criminal network that claimed at least $50 million in fentanyl and meth proceeds in the US, scoped out several banks before choosing Citibank. According to some people, there are banks that pay less attention than others. So, a second senior DEA official said, "I will name one bank. There were 2 instances where in this investigation we had money couriers, just people depositing the money, making 24 back-to-back deposits, totaling $16,000 to a Citibank ATM. There were 15 back-to-back deposits totaling $20,000 also to a Citibank ATM. They figured out the places that are most favorable to them." While there were no reporting requirements for the individual transactions, the pattern of the deposits should have aroused suspicion, the DEA official said. The 2 men, Guillermo Zambrano and Luis Velandria Contreras, were definitely trying to keep the deposits, obviously, below the threshold, below the 10,000, so as not to send up any red flags. But I will imagine that 24 back-to-back deposits by the same person, totaling 16,000, will set off some type of an alert, the senior official added. According to the lawyer for Velandria Contreras, he didn't want to make any requests or comments. The lawyer for Zambrano said his client engaged in the alleged acts only because he was in debt and threatened with kidnapping by a cartel member, and that he intended to pursue a duress defense. Both have pleaded not guilty. On the other hand, Citibank declined to comment on the specific case, citing secrecy requirements around transaction reporting. The bank said it had robust anti-money laundering policies, adding, "When we find evidence of such activity, we notify the authorities as required and fully cooperate with any investigation through appropriate legal processes." The indictment also details how another defendant, Young Yu, allegedly deposited a cashier's check at a JP Morgan Chase ATM and approximately $100,000 this time at a Chase Bank teller window. There was no suggestion that Chase failed to flag the transaction. Chase declined to comment. Yu has pleaded not guilty to related charges. His lawyer did not respond to any request either. Now, law enforcement officials have for years warned that Mexican drug traffickers and Chinese accomplices have been working together and adapting at laundering cash via the legitimate banking system. we are seeing a huge uptick in money, cash being deposited in banks and then wired wherever. They added that tens of thousands of dollars were being sent back to China each month via money transfer institutions in Flushing, New York. In 2012, the Department of Justice fined HSBC $1.9 billion for failing to prevent money laundering by cartels in Mexico, after an investigation found that hundreds of thousands of dollars were being deposited with the bank each day through teller windows at HSBC Mexico branches. Prosecutors said drug traffickers even design specially shaped boxes that fit the precise dimensions of the teller windows. Money laundering schemes have since become much more sophisticated. Through a mutually beneficial arrangement with Chinese nationals in the US who use encrypted apps, cryptocurrency, and mirror transactions in underground Chinese banks to hide their tracks. The cartels are desperate to get cash made from the sales of drugs in the US back down to Mexico. Now, you guys have to keep in mind that these Chinese money laundering groups, on the other hand, are in the business of helping wealthy Chinese nationals obtain cash in this country and thereby circumvent export controls in China on the movement of cash. Thanks to the explosion in fentanyl trafficking, this resulted in virtually limitless supplies of cash. Tracking such transactions has been difficult for law enforcement. The growth and the expansion of this, the first senior DA official said, has gone past what law enforcement track and monitor.